All right, hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 200, and I forgot to look at the page.
49.
So 249. Holy moly. All right, well, we're getting there. We're coming up on an anniversary here pretty quick. But first of all, just want to take a minute. We're going to stop, say hello to everybody, and then we got some good stuff coming up for you guys. We're going to get into that. But let's see. Hernan, you're not wearing your Semantic Mastery shirt. You really threw me off today.
No, but I am wearing this sticker.
It's not wearing it, you're holding it.
I'm wearing it now. I can wear it. I can put it on. Like now I'm okay. So now I'm wearing it.
There we go.
All right. So what's up, everybody? So it's really good to be here. I'm excited about POFU, and now I'm also holding this going right here, which is something I got for attendees. So a lot of good stuff. Not only a lot of good information, but also a lot of good actionable stuff. People are still raving about POFU Live 2018. So POFU Live 2019 is going to be even better. So excited to be here.
That's awesome. And in case anyone didn't know, the coin that Hernan was holding up is a coin that was only given to attendees at POFU Live 2018. Word on the street is that there will be a new unique one for 2019 attendees. So
Woohoo.
Come join us. Bradley, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Also, is it locked on me, or are we back to?
I think we're back to normal.
Okay,
but
good deal.
I don't know. Can anybody confirm?
Go ahead and start talking. I'll check it out.
Is it showing me now or what? This is on an odd. Until we get used to this, and we're also out of order in how you greet everybody, because now I'm like number 2. How'd that happen?
You're actually number 1. We're just gonna go with it. You know what? So yeah, we'll just keep rolling. But Bradley, how you doing today?
I'm good. Happy to be here, man.
It's showing you, so it's showing the speaker. I'm just confirming, so we're good.
Good. Thanks.
All right, Marco, how you doing?
Speaking of anniversaries, dude, 2 weeks from today was the day that SEO was turned on its head, right? August 29th, 2014. It's coming up, 4-year anniversary of something that doesn't work. Imagine that. Imagine that. 4 years of it not working. Here we are. And we're going to be celebrating. We're going to be giving good stuff away. We're actually going to celebrate it 2 weeks from today, right? Just so people know, tune in 1 hour early in 2 weeks. And we're going to we'll give good stuff away in prizes or whatever, coupons, just whatever. It's going to be fun. And we're going to show you how it's still not working in 2019.
So Marco, what is it that's not working?
OIS Academy, didn't you know that drive stacks and G sites don't work? Has nobody told you? Have you not been paying attention?
Yeah, it's good. Everywhere we go, it sounds like we're out there traveling around or something. But yeah, come across that all over the place. This doesn't work. That's not going to work. You got to do this other stuff.
Or 4 years ago when we launched it, and then we did the relaunch, I think 2 years later, everyone kept saying, well, don't you think Google's going to close that loophole at some point? Well, 4 years later, we're still benefiting from it. So those that, that's that, kind of like scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset type thing. You know what I mean? Like, what if? We can always what if yourself out of doing anything is my point. So we've been taking advantage of it while it works, which is 4 years strong now. So I'd say.
But it's fear, isn't it? It's just people. It's one of the things that I'll be talking about POFU Live, by the way. It's part of my message. It's fear, man. People are just so scared of everything. Imagine if that person who was so scared, because that came up in 2014 during the release. Somebody mentioned that. Imagine if that person had taken action, and 4 years later had continuously, taken action. How many people are outranking their competition with drive stacks, G sites, some embeds, link building, and how we do in Semantic Mastery, man. Just imagine.
All right.
There, definitely. So last but not least, sorry to cut you off, Bradley, but Chris, how you doing, man? We got you on video. This is the real deal.
Yeah, finally. Doing good. I think what Marcus said, like, actually hit another point. Because like every time that I actually applied drive stacks and stuff, it's literally like I'm the internet witch. It's just too good to be true, you know, like people don't believe it until they see it. And then they always think like we're doing some magic. But yeah, it's super simple. You just got to apply it, stick to the plan and execute.
You know, you bring up something good, Chris, and if I don't want me to put you too much on the spot, but if you can find that, do you remember that Facebook thread you had where you went through how you did that the affiliate kind of short promo and the results you got in Facebook?
Yep.
Do you want to post that on the page and people can go check that out? Because I think this is a really good example where people are like, does it still work? What's going on? Like, yes, Chris did this. He did these 3 things, and like this is what happened. It was pretty awesome.
Yep, sure. Let me find it.
Good deal. And while we're talking about Chris real quick, before we get into some short announcements and answer questions, you know, sometimes I'm a few hours off from these guys and I'm like, this is kind of a pain, or I'm, you know, got this or that going on. Chris, what time is it for you right now?
10 p.m.
10 p.m. We're getting started, and Chris is up at 10 p.m. on his time doing this. So I just wanted to say thank you for showing up and doing this, because man, that takes a lot. I'm asleep at 10 p.m. So good on you. Real quick, you guys, before we get into the questions, I wanted to go over some quick announcements. If you're just watching us and wondering, you know, if you're watching for the first time and wondering what the hell's going on here, we are going to start answering your SEO digital marketing questions, but you are in the right place. This is the place to be every Wednesday. Go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions. You can ask them live. We of course want you to join us live, ask questions so you can interact, you can clarify. You can talk to the other people who are viewing, but we understand too, if you can't join us live, whether you got a client call, something came up, you can always ask your question ahead of time and then go check it out on YouTube. The next step after that is definitely to pick up the battle plan. All right, go to battleplan.semanticmastery.com. It's where people say, hey, what's the first thing I should do? Is there a course I should take? Is there something I should learn? Just go get the battle plan. It takes care of all of that. And when you're ready to take things up several levels, you want to join a real community of people who are trying to grow, whether it's their own agency, whether it's their own business. Come join the mastermind, all right? And you can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And last, but certainly not least, if you know that doing things, or rather getting things done for you, is the way to do it, whether you're outsourcing, whether you are leveraging us via MGYB, getting done for you services is such a great way to do this, because you can turn around and resell to clients or provide the service and then add to that. So mgyb.co, go check it out. It's where you can get syndication networks, press releases, link building, drive stacks done for you, all of that stuff. All right. And we really do practice what we preach, guys. We mean it. These came about from, us using this ourselves and then turning around saying, well, we got the process. Other people are asking for it. Why not? So go check that out if you haven't yet. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us and stay up to date, as well as these videos and other stuff we post from time to time. So other than that, Hernan touched on it real quick on POFU Live. We talked about that, but if you haven't picked up your ticket yet, you can go to pofulive.com. It's going to be in Denver. It's going to be October 11th, 12th, and 13th. 11th is the VIP day. We've got a fun time where everyone can get together a little bit more relaxed, get to know each other and have a good time, and then dive into the heavy stuff on the 12th and the 13th. If you want to join us or find out more, you can go there, grab your ticket. And if you have questions about it, just email us at support@semanticmastery.com. All right, guys, do we have any other announcements before we get into it?
I think we're good.
I can't think of any.
All right, let's do it. And I don't even have to say cameraman anymore, so this is awesome.
No, but gotta try to
share the screen.
Remember how to do this again. There we go. I'll get used to it eventually. All right, so
we can see your screen, Bradley.
What's that?
We can see your screen.
Okay, good. All right, so we're going to start with Ivan, it looks like. So what's up, Ivan? He says, hey, guys, I created a branded tier 1 syndication network for a friend who has a local business, beauty niche, and I want to start publishing to it, but I don't have access to the main site yet to create an RSS feed. What would be the most effective way to start the process? Blogger, WordPress, the free versions? I was thinking of using the RSS feed from the GMB briefcase. Yeah, you could do that as well. I mean, if you're already posting to the GMB stuff, as GMB through the auto poster, then that's not a bad idea. You could try to do it that way. But yeah, if you don't have access to, his self-hosted site yet to where you can start blogging directly on there, then you could use the branded Blogger or WordPress or Tumblr site even. Tumblr seems to be really strong right now. I've got a couple, well, for example, my new business that I recently started in the last few months, that if you do a brand search, the syndication network, the Tumblr property from the syndication network comes up on the first page for that. And I've noticed that on a couple of other recent client examples of mine where, so Tumblr is strong right now. And that kind of stuff varies. Sometimes it's WordPress, sometimes it's Tumblr. Oddly enough, Blogger doesn't typically rank all that well unless you purposely do a lot of stuff to get it to rank, like link building and stuff. But so yeah, I would recommend using, you know, Blogger, WordPress, or Tumblr as, you know, from the branded syndication network as the trigger point until you get access to it. That's not a bad idea to do that. So also, if you're using press releases, you could also use the press. If you've got your own subscription, the Press Advantage, that's an RSS feed there that works really well. The syndication, the syndicated press releases look beautiful. They come out looking really nice across the blog properties within the syndication network. If you don't have the RSS feed, but because you don't have your own account, but you've been using MGYB services for press releases, just write to support. We can get you the RSS feed for that particular organization, so that each time you publish a press release, it will also update the syndication network. You guys want to add to that?
No, not me. That was perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, Ernest is up. He says, hey guys, I've been following the battle plan as directed. On average, it's taking about 2 weeks to get orders back from the MGYB store. If I place an order for the entire battle plan at once in the future, will this help speed things up? That's a really, really good question. I can't really answer that one. Marco, maybe you're the best suited for that one.
No, it won't. No, it won't, because it has to be done in a certain order. He has to place his orders. Like, preferably, you would need to have your Syndication Academy or your tier 1 branded in place so that you can submit it when you order your Drive Stack plus G site. And then that should be in place so that you can go ahead and order the embeds or the press releases, right? You need your NAP and anything that you want to link to in the Drive Stack and the G site or tier 1 branded, whichever the destination one of the destinations that you're choosing in the press release. And then, of course, the embeds that you would do, and then of course the link building. So everything, there's a method to the madness. I wouldn't just skip it or order it all at once. I mean, you could, but then we require for you to submit the information within 30 days, because other times that we've done it, people simply just, since they have it ordered already, they don't give us the information, and we need to get the process moving along. Yeah. But that still would not speed it up, because it takes time to build it, right? The syndication network takes time to build Drive Stack plus G site. I guess everything else could be built and held, but then you'd be running against these time limits that we set inside MGYB, where we do return the money if we don't get the information. So I wouldn't want you doing that. I would want you to follow the battle plan. It's set up the way it's set up for a reason. This way you get full effect on everything that when you order those embeds and that link building to everything else that you've set up along the way. That's when the true power comes through. When you start skipping or doing things other ways, that's when you don't get the full effect. So I would say, no, you're not helping yourself any.
I would suggest, or just make a request maybe that we can chat about during our corporate meeting, perhaps about maybe, and I know we've talked about this in the past, so you don't have to answer this now, Marco, but I'm just planting the seed, but creating packages where you could just buy everything at once, and it would be done in succession, and like, you know what I mean? That order, like you would submit your details, but that's not a bad idea. I know recently, like for example, with the link building or embed packages there, or excuse me, the embed services, there are like package levels in there now, which are great. I think that's going to help people make better decisions as to what they need to purchase in order to get the results that they're looking for. So maybe we can do something like that on, in the coming weeks or months for actual, like all of the different components together, is put them into sort of a package level that somebody could purchase and then submit all their details up front, and we would build them in succession, and that would resolve the potential 30-day issue thing with the order details, if that makes sense. So anyways, just planting the seed for that. That's something.
We do have all of these packages in mind, right? Where you can do one-ofs or just everything all at once. But it all has to be built into the store, and that's what takes the most amount of time.
Well, I guess we got to start cracking the whip, huh? No, I'm kidding. I know the guys have got their hands full of getting everything in there that we want. So, all right, the next one's up. This is an interesting one. I started reading it, and I'm not quite sure I understand exactly what the question is, but I'm going to read through it anyways, and I'm going to take a stab at it and see what I can come up with. Hi, Semantic Mastery team. I'd like to have your advice before buying anything in your done for you store, which is MGYB.co. I have a French website which shows my choirs network in France. Means I have 6 choirs in 5 different cities in France. Of course, as every choir, we rehearse together in person each week. I want to know, what is your advice for me to rank best with your services as a French website selling local subscription to choirs in different cities? Thanks in advance for your help. I'm kind of lost on the question. I just don't know exactly what it is that you're asking. Maybe because I don't understand the whole choir thing and everything else, or what your business model is. You say you're selling subscriptions. I don't understand really exactly what it is that you're selling. So my answer to you would be, as far as the syndication networks, is if you have a different network for each different city, which you can do. You don't have to do that, though. You can use a syndication network for one brand. So if it's the same brand, and I'm assuming, I don't know, it could be you have different choirs in each different city that are like different names or something like that, and you're trying to brand each one, then you'd want separate syndication networks. Or it could be one, name brand for a particular choir, name for the choir that you want to use, and you want to promote it in 6 different, 5 or 6 different cities. Looks like 5 different cities. In either case, you could use, if it's all separate, then you'd want separate syndication networks. If it's one choir that you want to promote in 5 different cities, then you could really just use one network. Now, what I've always mentioned in the past, like, let's put this on a more local type, like business type. Let's try to describe it that way, because maybe that'll make more sense. At least it does to me. If I had a brand that had 5 different locations, right? So a business that had 5 different locations, what I would try to do is promote that one business through one branded syndication network in all 5 cities. And there's ways to do that. For example, if you have a website that you're going to be blogging content to, or using as your content distribution engine to your network, or it could be a YouTube channel for that matter, you could create silos within either the website or within the YouTube channel. Using playlists is how you would create silos in the YouTube channel, and they would be optimized for each location, so that each time you publish a new piece of content, you would put it in the correct location silo, and it would go out across the same network, and you build up authority and you theme it over time that way. So that's one way that I would do it, because it's easier to manage. It's one branded network that you maintain. You can do a ton of additional like off-page SEO stuff to it, like link building, embeds, like we just talked about, add it to a drive stack, then do link building and embeds and link building to the drive stack properties. Just a ton of things that you can do to that. So I prefer to do as much as I can with one branded network, if that makes sense. However, if you find particular areas that are more competitive, you're not getting the SEO traction that you want to, then you can always add a location modifier to that brand name and create a location specific network that then you could publish directly to for any content going into that particular location or that area. To promote that area could go into that location specific network. Again, I prefer to use one network if possible, and push that, build the authority up in that one network as much as possible. Now, if it's 5 different brand names, 5 different choirs and totally, and each with their own location, in that case, then you'd want to use 5 separate networks. The idea is to, first of all, publish regularly and consistently, whatever you're using to trigger publication to the network, right? Again, either it's going to be a blog, typically, it can be many things, guys, but it's usually either a blog or a YouTube channel. Then you want to publish regularly and consistently. to that so that it's syndicating across the network. And again, irregular and consistent is important. That's key. But second of all, you can power the network up. Like I just mentioned, you can do link building to it. You can have a drive stack built and then include those syndication network profile URLs in the drive stack. Then from there, you can do embeds and link building to the embeds and link building directly to the drive stack and all of that. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Press releases, once again, it's a great strategy to get, especially in something like Acquire, which is kind of like, you know, entertainment, that kind of stuff. I would recommend that you also promote those when you have concert events or choir events, whatever you call them. You could also do press releases to publish an announcement announcing the event, the upcoming event. And that's a good way to get traction. And it's just an excuse to publish additional press releases as well. So you fit all those components together, the same stuff that we've been teaching now for, you know, a long time. You just stack all those things together and it should work really, really well. Now, who wants to comment on that? And
yeah,
maybe
I would tell him that the battle plan is perfect for what he's doing. Follow that. We don't do French in MGYB. And I see that his website is in French and he's targeting French audience. You'd have to do your own syndication network. You'd have to do, well, you could send the description, I guess, in French, and we could do it that way. I don't know. But we definitely will not do a drive stack and G site in French. He would have to do that himself. He would have to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing I could, yeah, that drive stack, you're right. That would be really difficult. As far as the syndication network, we could build it in English and then he could just, you know, start publishing in French to it. And that would be fine. That would work.
that was what I was about to say is that you can even you can get away with subpar with a syndication network, not completely fully fledged, you know, the full blown syndication, like Semantic Mastery syndication network way. And you can even build, like, you could have like your tier 1 links as French, you know, properties. And then you can build backlinks from English speaking websites to those websites. And, you know, if you follow the battle plan, you will be in a good spot because, you know, it's still like way easier. It's not as easier as it was before. It's not as easy, but it's like way easier to, you know, to keep on, you know, ranking and gaining power and gaining traction in foreign markets. So it's great. It's still great.
All right. So hopefully that helps. All right. So the next one is Gordon. What's up, Gordon? He says, hey guys, thank you for your help on these Hump Days. Us customers would be lost without your help. Excuse me. Us customers would be lost. So thank you very much again. You're welcome as always, Gordon. We appreciate you coming and asking questions every week. The distance from the local searcher to the business is one of the main ranking factors that Google now uses for GMB listings. Yeah, we call that proximity. I know that each geolocation is completely different, so there is no real rule whatsoever, but what is your best guess as to the ballpark radius a searcher needs to be from a business before the business is likely to drop out of the 3-pack? The GMB listings that show when you click more listed under the order of their ranking factors or just randomly. No, there's a lot that can be done to manipulate that. I mean, for example, I don't think there is a rule of thumb, but what you'll see is, and you can experience this, like if you do a search for a particularly well-known brand, for example, and again, if we're talking about service industries, you know, you could pick a well-known, kind of a bigger, like contracting company, like a big plumber. And we, you know, I use that always as an example, just plumbers. But like in Northern Virginia, there's a couple of them that are really big name brands that have been around for decades, and they've built really big plumbing contracting businesses. Like Michael and Sons is one of them. Another one's like JD Flood. So my point is, they can have a location, and because of its inherent authority that it's accrued, right? Then their maps listing can show up way beyond the normal proximity you know, filter, so to speak, or proximity limitations that we typically see for smaller type businesses. And that's because of the authority of the brand, as well as the associated website, the number of citations, the number of co-citations, so places that they've been mentioned on the web, all of that kind of stuff can really help push their maps listing into a much wider proximity area than a smaller business would be that has less authority, right? That's what we teach in Local GMB Pro, though, is how to actually manipulate that kind of stuff. So there, even the little guy can get to there. It takes consistent effort. And, you know, it's something that has to be done consistently over time in order to get those kind of results. Typically the bigger companies, they just have those results because people go do brand searches for them, which, by the way, that's one of the biggest ranking factors right now, guys, is what we call navigational search queries. We've talked about those in many years, or over the many years now, for when we talked about CT spam or click-through spam. I'm seeing it time and again right now, specifically, that if you can get people to do, and I'm not talking about buying spam clicks and spam searches, but if you can get real people to do real searches for a brand name, and then when it comes up, when the website comes up, click through to that website or to the maps listing, either one, that is a huge SEO ranking signal that will really kind of catapult you into that a high authority status, so that you can overcome a lot of those proximity issues. You know, you have to figure out ways to kind of social engineer that. One way to do it, I know for sure from testing recently, is through direct mail, but there's a ton of other ways to do that too. But I'm just saying there's, you know, I don't know if there is a rule of thumb. I know if the organization or the company, the GMB and the website doesn't have a lot of authority built, then the proximity could be very, very narrow, right? If the more authority that it builds, then the broader that proximity area can be, and you'll start to see those to rank higher. So I know that's probably not a real clear-cut answer. Marco, I know, will chime in on this one, but you know, again, because proximity, it really is going to depend on authority. But my point is I know for sure, because I've got clients where you'll see some of their competitors that will be, you know, 3 cities over, and yet they're still showing in the 3-pack. And they say, well, how can that be? Well, because they've been around for a lot longer. They've got much bigger marketing budgets. You know, we can get there, but you're going to have to come off some more money. That makes sense. Marco, what say you?
This is a really interesting question, and I'll take the last part of it first. Are they listed in the order of their ranking factors or randomly? They're listed according to the relevance of the location of the person doing the search, the proximity to the person doing the search. And how are you able to determine this? Manhattan, right? New York City is really small. It's about 23 square miles, right? And I've had someone go in a building that has 2 entrances, right? Let's say on the east side and on the north side, for example, right? So it's around the corner. And they've gotten two separate sets of data, even though all that change was about maybe half a block in distance. So it's really depending upon what Google considers is relevant to that person doing the query, considering the proximity of the place that the person is looking for. And how you override that is just how Bradley said. You have to become relevant, trusted, and authoritative in the niche, so that you override a little bit of that proximity factor, which is what's taking place right at that moment. And so back to the first part of that question. Yes, it's the main ranking factor. The geolocation has a lot to do with it. And again, we teach you how to kind of get around the proximity. Now, what the radius is, I have no idea. I have a lot of data that I will have to input into a computer and run some math to see if I can get something out of it, but I just don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think the radius would vary depending on how much weight the site has or the brand has. You know what I mean?
Because we know that it bleeds, right? We know that it bleeds into surrounding suburbs. We've seen that. And so that there is no definitive radius. You can increase that, you can decrease that. If you lose some of that trust and authority, and of course activity, right? Activity, relevance, trust, and authority, then you're going to lose maybe how wide that radius is expanded. Guys, it's so hard to answer these questions because we're not sitting there looking at a computer that's hooked up to Google and seeing what Google is giving us back. All we can tell you is what we've seen from what we've tested. So, and those are the things that we've seen.
And so you know, we talked about this on a couple of recent webinars, Marco. I believe on Hump Day Hangouts as well. So stop me if I'm revealing too much, but I don't think I am, because we're just going to talk about this on more of a conceptual level. We've got time because I don't see a lot of other questions coming through anyways. But one of the things, like I just mentioned, is how to manipulate kind of what is called site weight or brand authority, right? There was a patent that Google published, many years ago. I think it was 2010 or 11 or maybe 12. When I first was introduced to it, it was around 2011, I believe, by Ivan Budimir, who was, had a really big influence on my local SEO career, really. Anyways, we've talked about this in the past with the CT spam, the click-through spam stuff. And that very early on, Google had determined that navigational search queries would make if there were two competitive sites, all things being equal, and I know that's very difficult to do, but just theoretically, if there was two competing sites and they were very similar in nature as far as SEO value, on page, backlink profile, all of that kind of stuff, if one of the brands, right? So let's say site A, its particular brand name, if there was a lot of navigational search queries where people would search by that company by name, or that website by name, or that name plus contact, or name plus phone, or name plus location, any variation or number of what they call navigational search queries, then Google would recognize that as a higher authority, and it was called the site weight patent, and that was the nickname for it, but it would give that site more weight, right? So it would be weighted heavier, it would be more authoritative. And so Google would push that one above to the top of the search results or above the other competitor because of that nature, that very reason, right? And so we've talked about a number of ways to do that. We've talked about manipulating that through click-through spam in the past, which I don't recommend anymore because most of those are bots. They're very difficult. Like they just don't get counted anymore. It's not that I think they're going to be negative or detrimental or harm or, hurt your rankings, but I don't think that they don't get counted anymore. We've talked about doing that through Facebook ads or, through ads. You can do that through YouTube ads and even search ads and display ads more recently, because display ads are a heck of a lot cheaper than search ads. But also, if you can get people through other marketing channels to go search for brand names, and then when they find when the brand comes up and the various tier 1 assets or branded assets come up, they start to click through. They don't have to just click through to the website or the GMB map, right? Because they could click through the Facebook page, and Google still sees that. Google knows that they're clicking through from the search results page to a branded asset, and then perhaps even clicking through from the branded asset ultimately to the website or to the Google map. And Google can track all of that stuff. And all of those are incredibly good engagement signals that add weight, right? They add site weight or brand weight in this case. But one of the things that I know Marco has mentioned recently, and Hernan has followed up with it, is or seconded it, co-signed it, so to speak, is that if you have conversion goals that are being achieved on your assets, right? Which, think about what a conversion goal is. A conversion goal on a website could be somebody filling out a contact request form. Or if you're selling a product, it could be purchasing a product. Or if you're building an email list, it could be completing an opt-in form, right? But on a local level, it's typically going to be contact request form. If somebody's completing a conversion goal on a GMB asset, it could be clicking the tap to call button or clicking driving directions if it's a storefront business, right? Those are all considered conversion goals. If you have conversion tracking set up through Google Ads specifically on the site, even if you're not running ads, which I recommend that you do, especially display ads, really, even if you don't have the budget for search ads, you could still set up a very inexpensive display campaign. And also on a remarketing campaign, remarketing is even cheaper. Doing building a remarketing list and getting clicks from the Google Display Network on a remarketing list is cheaper than cold traffic clicks, right? But still set up conversion tracking through the Google Ads platform and all of that, because even organic traffic that comes, it's going to register as a conversion. It won't show as a conversion in the ads platform, but it's that firing mechanism through Google Tag Manager and everything. When you have the conversion tracking set up, the conversion goals set up inside of ads, for example, and you can do this in analytics as well. It's that that triggering, that firing mechanism of when somebody converts and goes to, for example, a thank you page or whatever, that again starts to build and accrue site weight. And that's really helps to, it will give you an edge over competitors that aren't doing that. So think about if you, and you can even experiment with this, because I know for a fact that you'll see difference in results. Let's say you got 2 lead gen properties and you're getting, somewhat similar traffic on both of them. If you take one of them and put the conversion tracking on, and even if you're not running ads, which I still, again, recommend that you run at least remarketing ads, you'll see that if you're getting conversions on both of those, but only one of them has conversion tracking set up in either Google Ads and or analytics, you'll see that that one will start to actually outrank or do better, perform better in search than the other one will that doesn't have that conversion tracking set up. And why is that? And it's because, again, Google's tracking that, and it's a way to pipe data directly to Google stating that the visitors that are visiting your brand site, your website in this case, are actually completing the conversion goal that you had set, which means they're getting what they were seeking, right? They were finding the information that they were seeking when they went to Google search to begin with. And when they're interacting with your brand, they're getting satisfied, that query satisfied by completing that conversion goal. And so it's very, very important. Even if you're not running ads, again, I recommend that you still set up Google Ads conversion tracking, or you can do it via analytics. If nothing else, start building a remarketing list and running very inexpensive remarketing campaign ads so that Google can see all that. Plus, that's how you start to increase your ART, activity, relevancy, trust, and authority, as Marco always calls it, because you'll start getting visitors that will engage with your brand more than once. And then that's another good brand signal or ranking signal, right? Repeat visits. So you want to comment on that, guys?
I think that you put it beautifully, Bradley.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to add, in getting back to the GMB, that it's how you relate the entity to the geolocation and the keywords. So that what you're doing is you're switching the map to a knowledge panel, or the entity is becoming the keyword for that niche. Right? Because one thing is adding site weight and getting all of that action on the website. When we're talking about the map pack, it's actually the entity. Right? It becomes all about what's going to be delivered to that person doing the query, and it's generally on a mobile phone, right? Because most what do you call it? Most of these searches, especially 3-pack, they get delivered on that phone or on that mobile device, and that's what Google is actually looking for. That it's how you relate the entity to the geolocation and the keywords in the niche. And again, we've done so much stuff in Manhattan and New York City that this is like I know what's taking place, and Google will tell you if you read all of the different patents and everything that's going on right now. Google will tell you exactly what it is that you need to do, so that you can even change a 3-pack. You can even get the map out of there, and you get a knowledge panel instead. That's when you know you're the authority, and the trusted entity, trusted authority in the niche.
Very good. So hopefully that was helpful, Gordon. The next question is from Fermo. This one, I'm not quite sure I understand this question either, so I apologize, but I'm going to try it. It says, hi there, I have a resorts account. The problem, 3 hotels share keywords on the same domain. Okay. So there's 3 separate hotels that are being promoted on the same domain, apparently. 2 languages, English and Spanish. Okay. It's a pain in the ass to rank them by mark as the client intends. Is there a way to avoid cannibalization between pages? That's a tough question because I don't really understand what it is that you're asking. I understand that you're trying to promote 3 different hotels that are targeting the same keyword on the same domain. The only thing I could say, if I'm understanding this correctly, would be to have, very good coded structured data on each one of those pages or pages that are associated with each location, or each separate hotel, I should say, so that you can kind of disambiguate between the 3. That's what you're calling cannibalization between pages. I don't know how you could do that with keyword, how you wouldn't keyword cannibalize. In other words, because they're 3 hotels in the same location competing for the same words on the same or the same keywords or search queries on the same domain. The only thing I could imagine or suggest doing, and Marco will probably have a much better reply to this than I do, would be to make sure that everything, the entity for each one of them is very, very clear and you know, concise, very tight. Like, and that's, you could accomplish that with structured data, as well as you know, some of the other entity assets that would be connected to it. But I'm not real sure how you would do that. To me, I feel like you would almost, if you're always going to be competing with each other if it's all on the same domain too. Marco, do you have any idea how to help him here?
No, because you're talking about the only variation here is the hotel name. Everything else is the same. Maybe the address is different. So maybe the location can vary by address, but you're competing. There's no way to avoid what you're calling cannibalization, which is Google taking similar pages on your website and deciding which one it should display.
Right.
Ideally, you want Google to display all three. Is Google going to display all three, or is it finally going to decide this is the one that matters? This is the one that I'm going to display. I would almost go like with if you can, three. So I don't know how much control you have. 3 subdomains or 3 separate websites.
Yeah.
Because then the 3 separate websites, you can schema the 3 separate websites correctly. They each will then have their own entity. You could even try to do it on the same website. I wouldn't, but if you could divide it into 3 websites where all 3 of these would then take up real estate in SERPs, but then you run into this. How do you decide like which one you want ranking above the other?
Yeah.
Or is Google, how is Google going to take that? As long as you deliver the same power and whatever you do to one, you do to all of the others, I think you can take up a lot of real estate that way on the SERPs. Other than that, if you're trying to run it on the same domain, and we'll just call it cannibalization. I don't call it that. That's what everybody else calls it, and that's fine. But I don't see how you can avoid it if the only thing that's different is the name of the hotel. Everything else is the same. Right? You're in Cancun, and you're by Solaris. So Solaris is common to all of them. They're probably in close proximity to one another. Other than putting them in 3 separate domains, or 3 subdomains, which are actually 3 separate domains, I don't see how you can do it.
Yeah, because then that would separate the web entities, at least the domain entities, right? So I agree with Marco. You know, again, the only thing that I could do if it was recommend on the same domain would be to have, like, you know, again, each page for each location would have its own, you know, organization or corporation type markup, as well as perhaps local business markup, structured data, I mean, and all that. But then again, it's Google's, you know, one of the more recent updates was Google specifically stating that it was going to put less results from the same domain for the same type of keyword in the search results, right? I stopped keeping up with the names of the updates, guys, but it's one of the more recent Google updates, like within the last few months. And one of the things that they said that they were going to do was reduce the number of pages from the same domain that could show up for any particular query on page 1. Right. So there's be less overall search results from any given one domain. And so that's probably what, you know, a big part of what you're experiencing there. So I agree with Marco. How do you beat that? You do it, separate the domain entity that way, either via subdomain or in entirely separate domains. So I agree with that. Austin Dawn says, is it advisable to interlink the properties in a Google stack? Yes. That's what we do. That's why it's called the spider silo, correct?
Yep, it's the spiderweb silo.
There you go. Absolutely. All right, moving on. We're almost out of questions, guys. So we're going to answer the next.
I think that we need to give Marco a prize for the sexiest product naming convention. You know, like spiderweb silo and RYS Academy, MGYB.co. That's beautiful. Give him a golden star.
Well, he got a prize. He gets to be here every week with us.
Hot damn.
So, All right, the next question. We've got, looks like 2 questions left, guys. So post any questions if you have them. Otherwise, we'll get through these 2 and we'll wrap it up. All right, so the next one says, I follow you guys on the Facebook page, bought older course, but wanted to see best way or link me to old webinar about building ROIS stacks for restaurants and tracking results. I'm not sure what you mean about that. I mean, if you, the webinars about how to build ROIS stacks are in the ROIS Academy or ROIS Academy Reloaded. We don't teach how to do that outside of that course. Now, what you could do is purchase from MGYB if you don't have ROIS Academy or ROIS Academy Reloaded, which is the newer version. Then I would say the next best thing would be to just buy a drive stack from MGYB and have it done for you. And in fact, that's unless you want to learn the components and how to build all of that stuff anyways, then it's a lot of work to build those things out. So you're better off buying them done for you, and then you can always tinker around with that one. But that's something I would recommend doing, is buying an ROIS stack from MGYB. As far as tracking results, it's no different than normal SEO type tracking, right? So whatever you use for a tracker, personally, especially for a local business, which a restaurant is a local business, right? I prefer to use Bright Local because it will track the domain as well as third-party mentions. So pretty much you put in, and that's, again, Bright Local has a local rank tracker that you can enter in 50 or 100 keywords that you want to track, depending on what level subscription you have. And then you can ask it to track third-party mentions. So the reports will show you that, and also you enter in a location. So you can of where you want it to track. So for a restaurant, because that's a storefront business, I would recommend just plugging in the zip code that the restaurant is in as the location tracker. In other words, it's going to do searches via desktop, mobile, and maps, and it's going to try to simulate doing searches from that zip code location. So it's going to give you more accurate local rank results than it was, and again, they're not going to be entirely accurate because of the way that the algorithm works now, but it's better. It's more accurate. It's more closely resembles what somebody would be seeing if they were searching from, say, a mobile device in that particular zip code. So I would recommend using Bright Local for tracking because, like I said, you can put all those keywords, you can set the location that it's actually searching from, you can track Google Desktop, mobile, and Maps, as well as Yahoo and Yahoo Local, Bing and Bing Local. So those are like all of them that you can track, and it will show third-party mentions as well. So like if you have, for example, a Facebook page and Yelp page and all these other different pages, it will show where those are also ranking for each keyword query that you enter as the search terms that you want to monitor. So Marco, do you have any comments on?
Yeah, the principles that ROIS Academy was founded on in 2014, when you ranked Virginia SEO, they haven't changed in like they never changed from 2014 to 15, May of 2015. They haven't changed, so that when we went after DC Plumber with ROIS Academy Reloaded, all we did is add power. But that didn't mean that ROIS Academy stopped working. It simply meant that we could push way more power with the new concepts that we applied to ROIS Academy Reloaded. So what you did in 2015 is the same basic things that we did in 2017 with just different techniques, right? We brought in the calendar. We brought in just some different things, adding depth and breadth to the drive stacks. All of these things that we conceptualized and we brought in to make them even more effective. But yeah, what he's saying, as far as the older course and the best way to link or how to rank a restaurant, it's all the same. It's the same way a local restaurant gets ranked the same way that a local plumber, that any other local type place would get ranked. Nothing has changed. And as a matter of fact, whether you're doing it locally or globally, the concepts are the same. You apply the same theory. Nothing has changed. So I mean, just go through the old training and apply what's there, because that's what Bradley did, and it's still ranking to this day, guys. we're in 2019. How many updates have we been through? How many things has Google thrown at us? Even in the last 2 years, and it's still there. You haven't done anything to it.
Not a damn thing, man. I haven't
I
touched
don't
it.
think, dude. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it works. I don't know.
Yeah, right. It definitely doesn't work.
All right. So next question. and
Sorry,
then-
sorry, Bradley, but get ready for what's coming. Because when Marco, it's funny because when Marco says that he's gonna put the SEO word on his head, he's not fucking around. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty cool. So get ready for what's coming. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. All right. So the next question has got a follow-up question. So I'm going to read both of them before trying to answer. This is a very elementary question, but quite honestly, it's the first time I've had this situation. I have a large law firm that has 7 locations across the U.S. Some locations have a simple name, law firm, and others have a full name listing all the partnerships. Example, name, law firm. If I change to a simplified name, law firm, will it screw up the other locations? Basically, I'm asking if changing the name will screw up the NAP. I should note that the simplified name was just created a few days ago. The more complex name has been in place for months, if not years. Yeah, it will. I mean, it will, because that's what it calls. It's called ambiguation, right? It will ambiguate the data, the NAP data, the consistency, and it can and most likely will. In my experience, it always does. It will, if you change the names and it's already, especially if they've been in place for any period of time and they've accrued citations, which are published, name, address, and phone number published on the web, whether it's includes a link or not, it doesn't matter. A citation is a citation is a citation. In other words, just publishing the name and address and phone number and website URL or any combination of those data points is called a citation. And those pages that's published on, if they're indexed in Google, then Google will count those as a mention, a brand mention. And so if you try to start messing with the name brand, or in this case, the business name or law firm name, and change them in the GMBs, then it's going to have a significant effect on what Google gives credit to that particular business for, if that makes sense. So, I don't recommend doing it, or if you are going to do it, then I recommend, well, if it's a law firm, you probably got a fairly good budget, then you can do it. And what I would recommend in that case is go to semanticmastery.com/Loganix, LOGANIX. If somebody wants to post that in the comments section, they have a really good citation cleanup service. It's the best one out there, in my opinion. And I've used a bunch of them, guys, even a lot of other vendors that a lot of you guys are familiar with. I've tried, and nobody does as good a job as Loganix does or Loganix, however you want to pronounce it, at cleaning up citations, especially if you've got a lot of them out there. It's expensive. It's $500 per location, but it's really good service. And if you've got some out there that have accrued a lot of citations over the months or years, then it's a big job. And I would recommend just having them do it. And they're about 70% successful with cleaning up citations. In other words, about 70% of the attempts that they make get accepted and changed. So that's what I would do if I were going to do it. Thank you, Adam. If I were going to change the name and you've got the budget for it, or you can get the budget for it, then I would absolutely recommend that you order the citation cleanup service immediately upon changing the names. And also make sure that your client is aware that they will see some dancing until everything gets cleaned up. There's just no way around it. Okay.
Yeah, and even if they don't have a ton of citations, you don't want to create ambiguity.
That's
Trust
correct.
me, because I did it. I unwittingly in a project that I was working on. I created ambiguity in, I don't know, in a cache. In a Google cache cycle of about 30 days. And to this day, I'm still fighting. It's been about 10 months, maybe a year. I'm still fighting because it starts creeping back up. The ambiguity starts creeping back up, and then you have to slap it. And it's really, really difficult to convince RankBrain that you meant the other thing, not the new thing, and you wanted to go back to the old thing where you started. And it's guys, you don't want to get into that. Trust me, it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. So hey,
go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to interject here for a second, because I think that if he's working with a law firm, has nothing to do with, you know, what you guys are talking about, by the way. But if he's working with a law firm, grab a little bit of the budget that he's paying you and join the mastermind. Because if you enjoy what these guys are saying right now, and they will save you a ton of money and time, because, you know, we fuck up a lot and we share all of our stuff in the mastermind. So go ahead and join the mastermind if you think that what these guys are saying is, you know, is powerful and it will save you time and save you money. Grab some of the money that this client is paying you and join the mastermind, and that will be one of the best investment that you have ever made in your business. You know, you will increase the value as a marketer exponentially for that client and any other client that you might have. So just wanted to say that.
So Hernan gets the prize now instead of Marco.
Also, can I come back next week?
That was a good pitch, man. That was a good pitch.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So, all right. So the last question is Austin Dawn. He says, I'm in the Syndication 2.0 training. So he's talking about Syndication Academy. Wow. Tons of great info. I don't think I want to put one together, though. I agree 100%. Listen, I've said this a million times. I think Syndication Academy is great. You know, I don't recommend anybody building syndication networks, though. Like, honestly, I think it's great to go through the training. And if you're the type that just has to do everything yourself, which you're not, Austin Dawn, apparently, which is good, then you know, go through the training and put it to use and build the networks. I mean, I did it for several years. When I first started building them, I literally did all the building myself for the first probably 2 years, and I made a lot of money. I selling networks to clients as well as getting results as an overall like SEO monthly, you know, service. So, you know, you can do it, but I don't recommend it because it is very time consuming and you don't need to do it. If you want to, you can hire your own VA and put your own VA through our training if you're a member, and have your own in-house VA that works specifically for you building networks. Or an alternative method would be just to purchase them from MGYB, because we've got all of our VAs that we've trained, our team that we've trained through that same training, right? They've all been personally trained by me and my training, and they build them to our specifications, and they've been building. We've got builders that have been with us literally for 5 years now. So they're very, very good at what they do. So I would recommend that that's what you do. Save your time. Let us do it for you. Focus on bigger, broader things for your business. Allow us to do the grunt work, right? So he says, would I order the first prior to the RYS stack? Yes, absolutely. Austin, Dawn, you should have the battle plan. If you don't, you should get it. Because the battle plan specifically lays out the order in which you should put these pieces together. And the syndication network always comes first. And then the drive stack, when you order the drive stack, now you can include the syndication network profile URLs in the drive stack build, so that now you're building power into the network through the drive stack, if that makes sense. So absolutely, if you don't already have the battle plan, get it and go through that, and it will show you how to put these pieces together in the order that we recommend. Okay. Any other comments, guys, in the last 2 minutes?
Yeah, I have a question. If RYS Academy and Drive Stacks and Syndication Networks, remember someone called them a link wheel, if they don't work, why are there so many copycat courses and so many people offering them in Fiverr and Conquer and all these other marketplaces? What they must be cheating people out of their money, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question, Marco. I wonder why that is.
They don't work, though.
All right. Yeah,
No.
they don't work.
No.
So. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming and participating today. We will see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.